Hi, this is Greg Johnson with Blue Book Services. I'm joined today by our retail editor, Pamela Schneider. Pamela is at Viva Fresh in San Antonio. What would you say is the biggest news coming out of there so far this year?
By far, for sure, the biggest thing that we've seen today, at least in the educational sessions, is discussions about what's going to happen with the tomato suspension agreement. And I talked with Lance Youngmeyer from the Fresh Produce Association of the Americas just a few minutes ago for a separate story on that. But besides that, we had a whole session dedicated to it, and then we had a press conference talking about the market effects for consumers and for buyers. And then also the rest of the content that we saw today, we talked about food safety quite a bit. The folks from the Center for Produce Safety talked about how to not become the next romaine, which of course in 2018 was a really big issue for the produce industry. But Dr. Weidman from Cornell University talked about listeriosis and how serious and how long it can live in a warehouse. And I think it was kind of a gut check for attendees.
Yeah, well, we had a big news release from LGMA this week about making tighter rules as far as water goes, among other things. It's a huge deal. I know the industry can't afford to have the kind of year like 2018.
No, we can't afford it. And some of the content that we saw today really reinforced that message. And it also gave a plug for the Center for Produce Safety's convention is actually up in my backyard, about an hour and a half up the road, coming up in June. They'll have a conference in Austin, Texas to talk more about this.
Yeah, we will have you there, and I'm sure that'll be a good one.
Greg, and you're back in the office, but you've been in Scottsdale this week. So what's happening with PBH?
Well, I have to have a prop, and so PBH launched a new tagline, "Have a Plant," and it came after extensive, like more than a year of strategy and research. And they came upon this tagline, which of course I really like, but they're really emphasizing that it's getting away from the old PBH, and not even just PBH, but the produce industry, of how much produce to eat, and more getting toward the motivation to get people to eat produce. It's the difference of talking about a prescriptive message versus having a behavioral message.
Well, and actually today's keynote speaker, Chef Seamus Mullen actually reinforced that message of fresh produce needs to own the plant forward conversation and not let that go to a lot of this processed food that is taking over that plant-based diet conversation. We need to start with plants. That also reinforces what Kathy Burns talked about in Philadelphia is fresh produce needs to own plant-based, and I'm sure that PBH ties in with that as well.
Oh, absolutely. There were more than a couple people who said, either on stage or privately, that the plant forward movement is a huge one, and if PBH doesn't take it, someone else will take it. And so PBH is the perfect one to lead this.
Well, that wraps up this week's Week in Review for the Produce Reporter newsletter. If you're not getting your copy of the Produce Reporter daily newsletter, you can go sign up at producebluebook.com.